2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
A cheerful party moment, the sound of laughter, music bumping, friends raising drinks. But at 2:32 a.m. in Baltimore, what began as a playful, live-streamed game night became a nightmare none of us should ever forget. Ernest Wilson III, 24, known for swapping bars for his own wild game nights, refashioning board games into drinking games with his closest friends, was live on Facebook, joking, counting down, "Ready or not, here I come." And then on camera, a figure climbed over the fence. Ernest gasped, "Who the hell? This can't be one of my friends." Within seconds, he drops his phone. The frame goes blurry. Shouts echo. Gunfire. And just like that, silence. Ernest Wilson III was killed on Facebook Live. No suspect in custody. Homicide detectives are still chasing leads in a case that left his friends and the city stunned. This is True Crime 911, the channel committed to making sure victims like Ernest aren't forgotten. If you're not subscribing right now, ask yourself, if this was your brother or your best friend, would you let their story fade? Subscribe now. To understand the tragedy, you have to know who Ernest Wilson III really was. At just 24 years old, Ernest was Baltimore through and through. Friends say he was the guy who never wanted the night to end, full of charisma, always the one cracking jokes, pulling people together. He had this big personality, and if you were in the room with him, you knew it. But Ernest wasn't about the bar scene. He had his own way of bringing people together. He loved hosting what he called game nights, and they weren't your ordinary Monopoly or Uno games. He'd flip the rules, turn them into wild drinking contests, and live stream the whole thing for everyone to watch on Facebook. For him, it wasn't just about having fun. It was about creating moments, memories, and making sure everyone left with a story to tell. Ernest had a knack for it. On April 11th, 2020, he decided to throw another one of those parties, this time in a rental home in Baltimore's Federal Hill neighborhood. It was supposed to be just another unforgettable night with friends. But what Ernest didn't know was that this night would be his last. April 2020, Baltimore, Maryland. The city was unusually quiet. Streets that were normally packed with late-night bar crowds in neighborhoods like Federal Hill were nearly empty. The world was in the middle of its first lockdown, and people were still adjusting to this new reality. But for Ernest Wilson III, quiet wasn't his style. Ernest was 24 years old, full of energy, and never one to let circumstances stop him from being the center of attention. If people couldn't go out, he would bring the party to them. So that night, Ernest rented out a short-term rental in the Federal Hill neighborhood. Federal Hill is a part of the city that mixes young professionals, nightlife, and historic row homes. It wasn't unusual for people to rent out houses there for gatherings, but this one had something extra. For Ernest, this was about more than hanging out with friends. He wanted to put on a show. He planned a live-stream Facebook where his friends could drink, laugh, and play games, and where people online could feel like they were part of the fun. This time, the game was hide and seek. Only it wasn't the kind you played as a child. Ernest called it drunk hide and seek. The idea was simple. Everyone at the party would find hiding spots, and Ernest would be the one searching. But instead of just running around, he'd bring thousands of viewers along with him in real time. And in typical Ernest fashion, he made it larger than life. On the live stream, you can see him grinning, hyped up, pacing through the house as the countdown begins. His voice is loud and playful as he says the words every child in America has said at one point, "Ready or not, here I come." Friends can be heard giggling in the background, tipsy, trying not to get caught. The atmosphere is carefree, lighthearted. People watching online are commenting and laughing, treating it like a show.
Ooh. You dumbass. I gotta count. Oh, hey, how you gonna hide right here? They so dumb. Little dumbass. You thought I gotta count out here, stupid. Go the other way. I'm coming to look for you first, girl. Niggas don't even know I can ham up there and shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I can hear y'all. 14, 15. I can see y'all. 16, 17. Don't walk this way because you're going to get caught. 18, 19. Thank you. Go the other way. You're making it too easy. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Because I'm tired of fucking counting. Ready or not, here I come. Lock the door so niggas don't hit the okey doke on me. Ain't nobody in the bathroom. I didn't think nobody. What the fuck? Oh, alright. I'm throwing niggas' ass. I'm leaving everything open. Ain't nowhere to hide for you niggas. Next time they on y'all ass. Niggas down here. The front door locked. Dumbass. I'm on your ass. 1, 2, 3. Who the fuck is that, G?
I don't know. I'm in your face.
Get your dumbass on the other side of this gate.
For those tuning in, it looked like a harmless, even goofy way to pass a Saturday night in the middle of a lockdown. But no one watching, not the guests, not the live stream audience, could have predicted what was about to unfold. Because while Ernest was looking for his friends, someone else was watching, and they weren't there to play hide and seek. As Ernest moved through the house, phone in hand, searching for his friends, the live stream rolled on. People watching online joked in the comments, laughing at the chaos. To anyone tuning in, it just looked like another one of Ernest's nights. Unpredictable, loud, but ultimately harmless fun. And then something unusual caught the camera's eye. In the corner of the screen, a dark figure appeared in the backyard. At first, it was hard to tell, a shadow moving quickly across the frame. Some viewers didn't even notice at first, but those who did would later say their stomachs dropped. The video shows the figure making its way to the property, climbing, a pair of hands gripping the top of the fence, and then a body pulling itself over. It wasn't one of Ernest's laughing friends. It wasn't part of the game. But inside the house, Ernest didn't seem alarmed right away. In fact, his first reaction was to laugh. He thought maybe someone was trying to sneak back inside, playing along with the joke. You can hear him say something like, "Who the hell? Is that one of y'all?" The camera shifts. His voice is still playful, still teasing, but there's a split second where it changes. Ernest realizes this isn't one of his friends. The laugh fades. His tone sharpens. The intruder moves into view, stepping closer. The party atmosphere, the music, the joking, the giggles from hiding spots, all of it is suddenly interrupted. For Ernest, for the people hiding in the house, and for everyone watching live at home, the fun was over. Because this wasn't a friend, and this wasn't a game. The moment the intruder's feet hit the ground inside the fence, the energy inside that house shifted. On the live stream, you can hear Ernest react, his playful voice giving way to sudden alarm. Friends later said he froze for a split second, not quite sure if this was some kind of prank, but it wasn't. According to investigators, the man who broke in demanded money. What started as a drinking game had now turned into an armed confrontation. The video picks up muffled shouts, confusion, fear, a voice harsh and urgent, barking orders. Then, chaos. The guests, hiding only seconds earlier, scramble. People scream, someone yells out in panic, and then, gunfire. Sharp cracks echoed through the house, caught on camera, broadcast live to anyone who was watching on Facebook. In the blurry frame, the phone jolts, tumbling out of Ernest's hand. The angle shifts wildly as it hits the ground. All that's left is the ceiling. Muffled voices, and the sound of raw terror. One of those shots struck Ernest Wilson III. He collapsed in the middle of what had been his party, surrounded by friends who only moments earlier had been laughing with him. On Facebook Live, viewers sat stunned, staring at a screen that moments ago had been filled with Ernest's grin and playful countdown. Now the feed was shaking, chaotic, voices overlapping, before finally cutting out altogether. The stream ended, and for Ernest, so did everything else. Within hours, the city of Baltimore woke up to headlines that didn't seem real. Breaking news alerts lit up screens. Young man murdered during live stream. For friends and family, the words were unbearable. Ernest Wilson III wasn't just another name in a crime report. He was their son, their friend, the life of their circle. He was supposed to be the one making people laugh, not the face on a news ticker announcing his death. Neighbors in Federal Hill described the scene as chaotic. Police cars lined the block, crime scene tapes stretched across the street. Detectives and forensics worked through the night, combing through a house that only hours earlier had been filled with laughter and music. And for the people who watched online, some of them hundreds of miles away, the horror was personal. They saw it happen. They heard the shots. They watched as their screen went black, knowing something terrible had just taken place. Days later, the city came together. Candlelight vigils were held in Ernest's honor. Friends shared stories, remembering him not as the victim of a headline, but as the kid who could make anyone laugh, who brought people together when they needed it most. But Baltimore is a city all too familiar with violence. Homicides happen so often that names fade from memory, replaced by the next headline. And as painful as it is to admit, Ernest's story risked becoming just another number. Stories like Ernest's vanish in the endless cycle of breaking news. Most people forget. But if you're watching True Crime 911, you're not one of those people. Subscribe now, because the next time a life is cut short on camera, you'll either be one of the few still demanding justice, or you'll just scroll past like it never happened. And if you think that's acceptable, then go to the comments and tell us why you refuse to stand with victims. Detectives from Baltimore's homicide unit quickly took over the case. From the start, they had something unusual. A crime partially captured on camera, broadcast to the world in real time. The Facebook Live video became a critical piece of evidence. Investigators replayed it frame by frame, looking for details, the shadow in the background, the way the intruder scaled the fence, the moment Ernest's voice shifted from joking to alarm. He also turned to the people inside the house that night. Eyewitnesses described a chilling scene. A man breaking in, demanding money, threatening everyone inside. Some said it felt like a robbery gone wrong. Others weren't so sure. Despite the chaos and the live stream, one thing was painfully clear. Ernest Wilson III had been murdered. But weeks turned into months, and no suspect was ever named publicly. No arrests were made. Baltimore police said they were following leads, but the case stalled.
For Ernest's family, that silence was crushing. For his friends, it was almost impossible to accept. A young man had been gunned down on Facebook Live, in front of witnesses, and yet no one was being held accountable. And for the wider community, it was another reminder of something Baltimore knows all too well. In this city, justice doesn't always come. For Ernest's family and friends, the days after his death were a blur of grief and disbelief. The image of his smile, his laugh, his energy, all of it felt impossible to reconcile with the fact that he was gone. They gathered at vigils, holding candles, releasing balloons into the Baltimore sky. Friends took to social media, posting old photos and clips of Ernest's game nights, writing about how he had been the one to bring light into their lives. His mother, his siblings, his circle of friends, they wanted people to remember him for who he was, not for how his life ended. But alongside the grief came questions, hard questions. Was Ernest targeted? Did someone know about the party, about the live stream, and see it as an opportunity to rob him? Or was it completely random, a violent stranger climbing the fence of a Federal Hill rental house at just the wrong moment? Some of Ernest's friends said he had a way of drawing attention, both good and bad. He liked the spotlight. He liked to make things bigger than life. And that made some wonder if someone had been watching him for a while. Others believed it was simply a robbery gone wrong, a desperate act in a desperate city where crime can strike anyone at any time. But what no one could answer was the question that mattered most. Why Ernest? Why that night? And until police named a suspect, those questions weren't going anywhere. Today, more than 4 years later, Ernest Wilson III's case remains unsolved. No suspect, no arrest, no justice. For those who loved him, that silence is unbearable. His family still clings to memories of the young man who could light up any room, who had dreams bigger than Baltimore, who believed laughter was meant to be shared. Friends still call him the life of the party, a spark that burned too bright, taken far too soon. But for the city, his story is a reminder of something far more chilling. In an age where everything is captured, recorded, and streamed live to the world, even that wasn't enough to bring his killer to justice. A game meant to bring joy ended in tragedy, and the question still haunts Baltimore to this day. Who killed Ernest Wilson III and why? This is True Crime 911. And before you click away, ask yourself this. If Ernest's story fades into silence, what chance do the next victims have? Subscribe now, because forgetting is easy, but remembering is how we fight back. And if you can look at the story and still refuse to subscribe, then explain in the comments why you're comfortable letting voices like Ernest's disappear.